If you think 10,000 steps is required for fat loss, again, didn't discover that number. It was invented, and then it was sold to you. Your watch celebrates it. Your app vibrates when you hit it. Corporate wellness programs gamify it. Insurance companies reward it. 10,000 feels official, precise, scientific. But biology does not operate in round numbers. Marketing does. And if your fat loss is stalled, it is not because you're missing 2,000 steps. Let's rewind. A Japanese company releases a pedometer called the Manpo-kei, translated 10,000 step meter. There were no randomized fat loss trials, no metabolic chamber thresholds, no physiological discovery. It was branding. And branding spreads faster than physiology. Pause for a second. If 10,000 wasn't discovered, it was decided. What else have you accepted without examining the mechanism? What steps actually measure? Now let's separate belief from biology. Steps measure movement. Specifically, NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. NEAT includes walking, standing, fidgeting, postural shifts, subtle muscular contractions throughout the day. James Levine's research demonstrated that differences in NEAT between individuals can account for 300 to 700 calories per day. Two people, same weight, same gym routine, same diet, different spontaneous movement patterns, massive difference in total daily expenditure. So yes, movement matters. But here's the distinction most people miss. Movement variability matters, not arbitrary round numbers. 10,000 is a milestone, not a mechanism. If 10,000 steps were a fat loss threshold, metabolic wards would use it. They don't. Let's look at metabolic chamber data and tightly controlled metabolic ward studies. Participants are placed inside respiratory chambers. Oxygen consumption is measured. Carbon dioxide production is measured. Energy expenditure is calculated precisely, not estimated, not gamified, measured. What consistently appears? Energy expenditure increases with movement. Yes, but compensation follows. When structured activity rises significantly, the body subconsciously reduces non-essential movement elsewhere. You move less later, you sit more, you fidget less. This is energy compensation, and it limits the net effect of additional steps. That part rarely trends on social media. Because walk more is simple. Metabolism compensates is not. Now let's bring in doubly labeled water studies. This is the gold standard for measuring real-world energy expenditure. Participants consume water labeled with stable isotopes. Researchers track elimination rates over days or weeks. True total daily expenditure is calculated. And what do we consistently see? Increases in physical activity increase expenditure, but not always linearly. Beyond moderate activity levels, total daily energy expenditure plateaus more than expected. Why? Because the body protects homeostasis. 10,000 steps does not equal 10,000 step worth of new calories burned beyond baseline. That illusion drives the myth. What about wearable error? Now let's talk about your watch. Consumer wearables overestimate calorie burn by roughly 10 to 20%, sometimes more. If your device says 500 calories burned, it may be 400. Over weeks, that gap compounds. Expectations inflate. Fat loss stalls, not because steps failed, but because the burn was exaggerated. You were chasing a number built on estimation. More important to understand is adaptive thermogenesis. When calories decrease, the body adapts. Resting energy expenditure declines slightly. Spontaneous movement declines slightly. Fatigue signals increase subtly. This is not weakness. It is survival biology. If you rely purely on step count to drive fat loss, you're fighting compensation without realizing it. Steps are a guardrail, not the engine. That distinction matters. 10,000 steps is a productivity badge, not a metabolic law. Now for the psychological trap. 10,000 becomes a daily win, a signal of discipline, a moral achievement. And once you earn it, you feel flexibility is justified. You deserve more food. You relax tracking slightly. That entitlement often outpaces the actual calorie burn. Do you see the disconnect? The number becomes symbolic, not physiological. So what actually drives fat loss? Fat loss responds to sustained negative energy balance. If intake is lower than expenditure over time, stored energy decreases. That is thermodynamics, not 10,000. You can walk 10,000 steps and erase it with 1 calorie dense meal. Movement supports the deficit. It does not override intake. If fat loss stalls, it is not because you hit 9,000 instead of 10. It is because the system is unbalanced. What to do instead? Track your baseline movement. Increase moderately if needed. Maintain consistency during dieting phases. Prioritize resistance training to preserve lean mass. Control intake strategically. Sleep adequately to regulate hunger hormones. That is a system. 10,000 alone is not. And here's where this gets deeper, because 10,000 steps is just one example of a broader issue. More movement does not automatically mean more fat loss. In the next episode, we're breaking down what happens when you push cardio aggressively, and why more cardio can actually make fat loss harder, because adaptation changes the equation. Marketing created 10,000. Physiology created the curve. Understand the curve, and you stop chasing arbitrary milestones. You start building sustainable systems. This is Performance Decoded, where we separate mechanism from marketing and performance from noise. And in the next episode, we're decoding the cardio paradox, because sometimes more cardio makes fat loss harder.